Hi, Jen Gilchrist here, your soul alignment and success mentor. And today I am here with another Soulful Snippet. This is my weekly series here on my Facebook page at Jen Gilchrist. And so this week, the topic that was coming up was really about, are you letting fear and doubt drive the show, right? Who's driving the creative process of your life and business? And so I'm going to also be sharing with you 3 essential keys or tips, if you will, that can help support you in really amping up your intuition and trusting yourself enough to take that inspired action that is going to get you on the fast track to success. But not just success, it's going to help you be in alignment. It's going to help you enjoy life, have more happiness, more ease, more flow, and everything else as well, because it all really is linked together. Your intuition is really your natural inherent birthright. It's our spiritual gift that we all have. And it's really essential, I feel, and key in really helping you live a life that feels super, super fun and abundant. So say hello as you're hopping on, whether you're live or on the replay. And so to start out with, I realized that I feel like the problem is, or one of the problems I see and that I know I experienced as well, is that we've kind of lost trust over time. Life just begins to, starting out as children, right? Having well-meaning parents who maybe as a child you said something like, oh, are you okay, mommy? How are you? Are you okay? And then mom's like, oh, I'm fine, honey. Like they don't want you to worry. And so in that moment, right, as a very small child, your inner knowing and your empathic ability, or your inner knowing, was something's wrong with my mom. And then she kind of contradicted that, right? Kind of told you the opposite. And so pretty soon, this happens over and over again, where we begin to have a feeling or an idea, and then somebody will kind of squash it by telling us something different, right? Whether it's on purpose or not. Like in that case, just as a parent trying to protect their child and not unload themselves on them. But at the same time, that's a very small way that can start to create confusion in trusting your own intuition and your own knowing. Pretty soon you start to like say, oh, I guess I was wrong. I'll trust what that person says over what I know. Right? Other ways, just through societal programming, religious programming, just the way that we've kind of surrendered our seniority over to other people's rules or ideas. Again, in some ways that could be pedestaling possibly, where we're putting our trust and belief in what somebody else says over what we know, even though we kind of might read something or have a societal, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but for the most part, it comes down to where you might kind of not sit right. It might not sit right with you, but we've kind of just come to accept it as so, right? And these things start happening at a young age and they build up over time. I know for me, one of the biggest lessons in trusting myself and losing trust in myself to begin with was unhealthy, relationships where there was a lot of lying and cheating. And, it's like I was told I was crazy all the time. It's like inside, I had no idea about intuition consciously at this point, but inside it's like, oh my gosh, like I know you're lying. And I just wanted him to tell the truth, and he wouldn't. In fact, instead of even confessing the truth, it was like, oh, you're crazy, and I started to believe that maybe I was the crazy one, right? So again, it's this inner knowing. And at that time, I was really seeking for that outside validation of somebody else to tell me that what I felt or knew was true, right? And so tell me if you can relate to that. So these things start to build up over life, starting at a young age, and it really destroys trust in yourself and trust in your intuition and trust in your own internal guidance system. And so the solution really is cultivating unshakable faith and trust in yourself and your intuitive knowing and psychic senses that we all have. And so I'm going to give you a few ways that you can start to do that start to do that easily. Some of it's going to just be things that you start to implement into your life. But the first thing I believe that's really important is to forgive yourself for the times in the past where you betrayed yourself, essentially, right? So if I'm going back to the example of the unhealthy relationship that I was in, where I knew long before, I knew that I was being guided out of that, right? I knew that there was something going on, but I just didn't trust myself enough to. So I had to first take my power back from that situation and do some forgiveness work to not feel like I was victim, like really own my responsibility of my part within it. And then really forgive myself for betraying what my inner soul and guidance was telling me to do, and just for making a decision or a wrong decision, right? Or not listening to myself. And so part of that is just like acknowledging in the past and just accepting and forgiving yourself for maybe not always honoring what you knew to be true, right? That's an important piece of it for sure. The second piece of it is you have to debunk all this stuff, right? You have to completely do that inner work around all those fears and doubts and judgments, and especially in regards to your intuition, like I was just speaking of. You got to release your fears around what other people might think of you. Hey, Leah. You've got to release the fear of judgment. I know, like, I grew up in a very conservative Christian family, and so there was a lot of judgment around me, my fear coming out about of the spiritual closet with my being psychic and doing intuition, right? And being in that, and that's sort of something that was wrong for me growing up, right? And so I had to get through my fears around that. Fear can show up in lots of ways, through procrastination, through overwhelm, through numbing. And so really just diving into, anytime we're numbing or we're avoiding or we're acting from fear or doubt, we're allowing that to run the show. And so we really have to get brave and choose to have the awareness of what it is that's really going underneath that, and do that deeper work. This is something I'm going to be sharing next week. I'm doing a 3-day free on Facebook here, Awaken Your Intuition and Activation. And one of the things I'm going to be offering is a free clearing on your fear and doubt, right? Because there's so many ways that we allow that to stop us from going after our dreams, or by taking action on what our intuition is guiding us to do. And so that is, I think, an essential piece of that, is doing that deeper inner work. And the third thing is just to practice, right? You have to practice your intuitive muscle by getting in the habit of asking, right? We're so in our head all the time. And if you can just start to get in the habit of practicing that intuitive muscle by, tuning in and asking all day, every day, so you can get out of your head and sort of see what that higher perspective is. I'll ask, what's the quickest way to get to the store? And sometimes my intuition might show me a vision of going some backwards way. And sure enough, there's times where, like, this is actually a great example. I had an appointment to get to in 10 minutes, and it's like, okay, all right, angels, help me out here. I want a quick, easy ride. If it's just all green lights and I get the fast track, then I'll get there on time. Well, I asked, because I'm pretty much in the habit of asking, but then I promptly forgot. I got in the car and I had this vision of, like, taking this backwards route. And in my mind, I fought it. So this is a good key of when we're arguing with our intuition. If you have an intuition or an idea that's coming to you that maybe you normally wouldn't think, it's worth investigating, right? So I kind of poo-pooed it, like, well, why would I go that backwards way? And I kind of just threw it off, not realizing that was actually my intuition or my angels kind of guiding me. And so I ignored it. And I went straight, and then the next thing I know, the direct route had all the traffic lights out. And I was like, okay, that's good, a good reminder. And no harm, no foul, because it was something simple, right? But it reminded me that, when I start arguing with something, arguing with my angels or arguing with my intuition, it's a soft, subtle hint of what to do. And so often we blow it off. And it would have been easy, for me to just take that route, and I probably would have been on time. Right? So that's just one example. So it's just all information. So the more that you get to practice and tune into what is, in all of your decisions every day, you'll start to discern your own intuitive voice and how you receive messages more easily. That's another thing we're going to be talking about in the activation. Is I'm going to be sharing the 5 main ways, the 5 main intuitive gifts and psychic senses that we all have, and how you can cultivate them even more in your day-to-day life, so that you can begin to live a soul-inspired life and live a life that's based on your inner guidance and your inner knowing. And so I'm super excited to share that with all of you. I hope, and let me know if you can relate to this, or if you have any questions on the topic. Sometimes I don't see the comments live, but whether you're live or replay, I'm happy to come back and answer any questions. So if you have questions on that, and if you'd like to join me, I'd love to have you join us. It's going to be starting next week here on Facebook. It's totally free. The time commitment is very small, probably 15 minutes a day, to just watch, have different exercises for those 3 days to help you activate your own healing energy, your intuitive abilities. And again, we're going to be doing that clearing on that fear and doubt, so that you can really step into your next level of success and happiness and joy in all areas of your life. So I will share that link in the comments below, and I look forward to talking with you guys again soon. Bye. Have a great day.